Welcome to Key Roots, the key roots of sex addiction. My name is Colin. Yes, you should meditate. Overall, for emotional regulation, you see, I think everybody wants to feel good, and the sexaholic and the betrayed partner really don't. Let's discuss two reasons why meditation is really, really important. The first is for distraction. When individuals are overwhelmed with their environment or with their physical sensations, distraction helps them calm themselves in those circumstances. The second reason meditation is really important is to acclimate to the environment and to bodily or physical sensations. Okay, let's go ahead and start discussing distraction meditation first. For example, a betrayed partner will be in the presence of her sexaholic partner, and in that circumstance, it can become very overwhelming. What I mean by that is thoughts race, heart begins to pump faster, maybe they're sweating, muscles tense, and that can become very uncomfortable. Distraction meditation is really helpful because when we can distract the mind from the current thought processes, the body just tends to relax and the betrayed partner can better maintain presence with her sexaholic partner. Well, let me give you an example. A long time ago, I had an individual call me frantic on the phone. She discovered that her partner had acted out that day and they were to go out that evening with friends. She wasn't thinking really straight when she was on the phone with me, and so I decided to do what I call the great association meditation. So, what I did with her is I explained that I was going to say a word and that she was supposed to say the first word that comes to her mind, and we would go back and forth. The only other rule that I gave her was that she wasn't allowed to repeat anything that had already been said. We did this for about 2 minutes. It looked like something like this. I might say fish, and she said water, and I said drink, and then she might have said juice, etc., back and forth. After 2 minutes, she had calmed down, at least to a degree where we could discuss the situation. As we were discussing, her body tensed up and she ramped up emotionally again. And so we did it one more time. This time we did it a little bit longer and she calmed down a little bit more to the point where we had a rational discussion about how to handle the night. And she was able to think through how she wanted to handle this information that she found out just minutes prior. And ultimately, she decided not to talk to her husband until after they had gone out. And I received a report that everything went well that evening. Distraction meditations, if you know how to do them right, are amazing. I just did another one earlier this week with a guy who was struggling, and ultimately he probably calmed down within several minutes as well. It's just amazing. Good, because I think a lot of people solely use meditation for distraction and relaxation techniques. They don't use them to acclimate to distress. And if you never acclimate to distress, then you're going to have to constantly try and get out of it. And that's just not reality. We need to learn to become comfortable with distressing environments and sensations in our body so that we can actually be with our reality. Let me give you an example. I had a client the other day that came into session a little bit down. He was struggling in his relationship and he was feeling uncomfortable in his body. In particular, he discussed how he had this sensation in his chest that was super uncomfortable. Through meditation in that session, I asked him to pay attention to the sensation that he was feeling. As we went through the meditations, I also had him pay attention to the thoughts that he was having about his relationship and about his sensation. What we noticed is that he believed that the relationship was bad, that the sensation in his chest was bad. Also, that he didn't like the current status of his relationship or the feeling in his chest. And finally, he believed that he needed to solve his relationship as well as the sensation again in his chest. I started to question his thinking, and just for this video, I'm going to avoid questioning the thoughts that he had about his relationship and just focus on his physiology. He first believed that the sensation in his chest was bad, then that he didn't like it, and then that he had to get rid of it. So I asked him if it was true that it was bad. With some discussion, he was able to say that it was actually not bad. Then I asked him if it wasn't bad if he had to dislike it. And again, with some discussion, we agreed that he didn't need to dislike it. So then I asked him if he didn't dislike it and it wasn't necessarily bad, if he needed to get rid of it, and he didn't. So then we just paid attention to it more and did some other meditations. And through the meditations, he actually smiled. And when he smiled, we stopped and became aware. And I asked him if he still had the sensation in his chest, and he said he did. This was a really amazing moment for him because he recognized that he could maintain this uncomfortable sensation and be happy rather than distraught. So in other words, he became acclimated to the sensation in his chest and no longer needed to get rid of it. Now, not everyone necessarily has a smile on their face when they acclimate to sensations. There have been many times when I've had uncomfortable situations arise and I wasn't necessarily happy, but I was able to feel them without having to get distracted or become dissociated from a particular situation. That's really important because it allows me to deal with difficult situations head on. Good observation. Let's talk about the sexaholic and how meditation can be applicable for his life experience. First, distraction meditation can be wonderful because it's really easy for the sexaholic to get caught up in a sexual trigger and not be able to deviate his thinking. So with a distraction meditation like the Great Association, the one we utilized in the Betrayed Partners example today, the sexaholic can really quickly, probably within 30 seconds, get distracted away from a sexual thought. The meditation used for acclimating to physical sensations is really important for the sexaholic because the triggers that he experiences can often be very distressing. And so the sexaholic can become acclimated to these sensations, so he learns that it's okay to feel what's going on in his body without necessarily acting on these feelings. You're right. It does take a lot of practice, a lot of stillness, and a lot of awareness to become effective at distracting your mind and sitting in uncomfortable, distressing circumstances. Well, reach out. I would be glad to teach you all I know about meditation. We can do that in therapy, or we even practice sometimes in the support groups that I offer. And you can find all of that at keyroots.com.